I really enjoyed reading the story Stitches in Time by Barbara Michaels. This story is set in our world, only it has some more subtle kinds of magic in it. So think ghosts and voodoo style witchcraft as opposed to like real monsters and the kind of magic where you can throw fireballs around. It follows a young woman called Rachel, who's a graduate student working on a doctoral dissertation looking at the art of women's clothing created for certain rites of passage, such as when someone gets married. She becomes the assistant at a vintage clothing store. And one day while she's working there, they have a really strange visitor who leaves behind a trash bag full of really amazing quilts. So one of these quilts is a bridal quilt that, despite having really amazing craftsmanship, also has this stain that they can't seem to remove. And when Rachel sees this, she immediately feels like there's something wrong, even though she can't pinpoint exactly what that is. So as the story unfolds, both Rachel and the people around her are drawn into the mystery and the evil magic that was stitched into this quilt more than 100 years ago. So let's see, the tone of this story. I think this story is what I would consider like really lifey. It follows a lot of different characters and like the relationship issues and other everyday problems that they have, which become mixed in with the magic and the mystery around the quilt. So just as an example, Rachel herself recently got out of a really bad relationship and is still being sort of semi-hounded by her recent ex-boyfriend. She has an unhealthy infatuation with the husband of one of the shop owners and is also just somewhat withdrawn, like because of certain issues that she's had, both in like, I guess her romantic life and certain problems with her family that started when her mom got remarried. Then you've got characters like an anthropologist called Adam, who has some kind of quirky ways, I suppose. For instance, like he gets cold very easily, wears layers upon layers of clothing, mittens in really weird colors, and has a really, really bushy beard and mustache that makes him look really scary, even though he's actually a really nice person. You have a retired professor who actually used to give lectures about things like Wicca and witchcraft using rubber chickens and tomato sauce as fake blood. So you've got these really interesting people who are basically going through their lives and also working on trying to figure out what to do about the strangeness, I guess, that's happening around the quilt. I don't want to tell you too much about that because I do feel like that might be considered as spoilers. So something I really liked about the story, actually I like a lot of things about this story, but I think one thing I'd want to highlight is the fact that there's quite a lot of humor sprinkled throughout the narrative. So for instance, there's this, like one of the shop owners has a dog that's really old and has no teeth but really likes to bite people, and this is kind of this reoccurring point of contention throughout the story. And I remember this one scene where there's a character sleeping outside someone else's door to sort of safeguard them at night, but wakes up with like cats sleeping all around him. So I think it just has a lot of these little things that it's a combination of the writing style and also just like the cast of characters that they have that creates a lot of points of humor to sort of offset the more serious parts of the story. I don't really have anything I don't like about this story, but I guess one thing I might point out is that the pacing is a bit slower. So like I said before, the magic in this story is a lot more subtle, and I think the same goes for just the way the plot works. So everything sort of builds up bit by bit as you move through like the mystery and also just figuring out exactly what's going on. Like like I wouldn't exactly say, for instance, that there's really obvious things like curses and ghosts and stuff, but like everything is handled in a really subtle bit by bit way, and I'm not sure if everyone, I guess, would enjoy that. I think it worked out really well for me, but I know that I think some people who prefer things to be a bit more fast-paced, this might not be the best choice of book. But anyway, I think, this is the kind of story that I really like, and I recommended it to Elena right away. And I think from some of the hints that they gave at for instance, an involvement with a ghost that the professor had in the past. This might be part of a series, so I'm already setting out to look for the other books.